It was another cloudy day, the morning that we arrived at the port of Reykjavik in Iceland.
Hooked up just like that. My name is Jordan, and I'm from Kerio.
And as usual, we gathered at the theater to await for our turn to disembark for the day's excursion. Lucky for some of us, we get to get out first. At the bottom of the stairs, the ship's photographers had a hard time convincing us to pose for souvenir pictures. With no time wasted, we met our tour guide as we boarded our bus. This day was scheduled for a full-day excursion. For Reykjavik's Golden Circle tour, it is over an hour and a half of a bus ride before we get to our first stop.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Reykjavik. My name is Kent, and our bus driver today is Ragnar. Ragnar just mentioned to me that we want to keep you folks as comfortable as possible, so just let us know if you're too hot or too cold, and he'll adjust the temperature in the bus accordingly.
Since we're here, Kent thought we needed to know a little bit about the capital and largest city of Iceland.
Today, Reykjavik itself is around 100,000 people, but when we talk of Reykjavik, we often talk of the capital area, and it's closer to 200,000. It's about 190,000 inhabitants in this area.
Iceland's countryside is green, and there's plenty of lava rocks around this area.
Now we're right in the middle of this lava that flowed 1,000 years ago, or in year 1,000. It flowed here north as well as south. It flowed all the way down to the ocean south of us. Coming up on our left-hand side, where you see all the steam, that's a geothermal power station that they're developing. They have drilled holes down to harness the steam, and the building that we see coming up is just the facility where the steam will be converted into electricity.
Soon, we made the exit in a community for our first stop at a coffee and souvenir shop.
If you walk straight through the shopping area, you get to the greenhouse if you want to take a quick walk through and see some of the plants that they're growing here. So I have 5:02, so we'll leave here at about 10 after 9. 15-minute stop.
Inside the shop, it had become crowded. People were looking for bargain prices, souvenir items made in Iceland, or like me, just looking around. It was our first stop anyway. There was also a photo gallery section. And part of the building is the greenhouse, where I encountered a familiar-looking couple, my cruise dining mates.
Excuse me.
Excuse
You're in my way.
Don't give me a hard time today. You know what I did?
What?
I got my camera wet.
Really? Inside the bus?
No, in our room.
What happened? You drop it in the restroom?
No, I put my bottle of water in there and it tipped and the top came up.
Oh, man.
It was sad news, but no reason not to enjoy the rest of the trip. We spent the rest of our limited time, and we had fun walking around the Garden of Eden, as it was called.
We got about 4 minutes.
You want this side?
That's good right there.
All right.
Our next stop, but it's only going to be a quick stop. For those of you that are looking at the brochure and the map, we're in Hveragerði, H-V-E-R-A Gerði, G-E-R, the funny-looking D-I.
Back on the road and the countryside, our attention had turned onto the nearby Rocky Bald Mountains.
On our left-hand side, you can see how the rocks have come down over the years in some of these various earthquakes.
Our next stop was at a volcanic crater lake on this popular Golden Circle tourist route.
I don't think to stop that long. You can just walk up to where these people are standing and then back again. So just maybe do kind of the loop. So 10-15 minutes.
It was like standing on top of the world with the wind blowing around the rim of the crater. This crater was to have been formed around 3,000 years ago and is among several crater lakes found in the area. Its red volcanic rocks also make it so attractive that no one lives without taking a picture with it.
Well, that went quite very well. I kept looking at those.
Kent was pleased that we did very well and on time at the crater. Next spot on our schedule was the visit to the geysers, followed by a break for lunch.
We're having lunch here in the hotel at 11:15, and then we'll be leaving here at 12:15.
Right across the street from our lunch venue were the geysers, and it looked like we would encounter a little bit of rain.
There is a good walkway here. I just ask people to be careful. So basically you're on your own. Stay on the walkways.
With the cold wind blowing on my face, I followed the group to our first encounter of this natural phenomenon. This one was a steamy pool with hot stream flowing down one side of it. Its name is translated to the King's Hot Spring. No geyser eruption on this one. Looking around and a few hundred yards away was the Strokor, the great geyser that puts up a show for the visitors. I waited 5 minutes on this one great eruption before deciding to follow a trail to go up the hill for a better view of the entire geyser area. On top of the hill was an elevation point marker, and from there was a very nice overlook view of the valley and the hot springs and the geysers. It was also there that I waited to see another eruption of the Strokor geyser.
Hey, we got it.
Back down the hill, the great geyser called Strokor attracted more attention because of its eruptions every 5 or so minutes. We very patiently waited while Strokor built up the pressure before the great eruptions. The waiting seemed forever. All cameras were ready to capture the moment. And when it finally happened, its eruption took just a fraction of a second. But everyone gets awed to witness the hot streams shooting up into the air. Walking a little further, there was this little geyser of boiling water, and in some areas were gusts of steam coming out of the earth.
Where do you go for 4?
4, you go on the right hand side by the restaurant straight ahead.
Thank you.
For lunch, the restaurant was packed. Most of us were hungry and tired, and we savored every bit of the Icelandic meal that was served us. Next door was a shop for all kinds of souvenirs, but I decided to just look around and wait until it was time to get back on the bus.
So I hope everybody enjoyed the meal.
Yeah, very nice.
Salmon for lunch. We eat lots of fish here in Iceland. So we're just heading about 10 minutes from here to Gullfoss. Then we have a short stop there. And then we return back this part of the road on our way to Thingvellir.
Along the way to the Gullfoss waterfall, we received our next stop instructions.
You can walk up some stairs and see the viewpoint from up there. I'm not really suggesting to go up there because it'll be really windy up there and cold. If you do go up, just remember we're only here for half an hour. So we're going to leave here at 5 minutes to 1. Okay?
Gullfoss, when translated, means Golden Falls, and is one of Iceland's most beautiful and popular tourist attractions. Standing at Gullfoss was an uplifting experience. I could feel the energy by looking at its beauty and nature's wonder. At some period of time, there was speculation to use Gullfoss to harness electricity. But the idea was abandoned because of the intense protest against these plans, which would have changed and destroyed Gullfoss forever.
It would have been a real shame if this had been done up as a hydroelectric development.
Yeah, absolutely.
With everyone accounted for, and heading back to the same road we took for our next stop, we slowed down for the last view of the geyser.
It'll erupt, it'll go off just as we drive by.
Good time.
While on our way to Thingvellir National Park, we have encountered some rough roads and land erosions.
The weather conditions, wind and rain have eroded this land.
And other things that Kent had pointed out.
There's a cave there. There was people living in that cave some 50 years ago. And that's just to show how much life has changed here.
And then, as we got closer, our view turned into something interesting.
We're coming up on Lake Thingvellir now. You see it in front of us and to the left. It's one of the biggest lakes in Iceland. It's crystal clear, very cold, but it's mainly spring-fed.
Here is also the site of a geological importance.
We're moving apart. So right now we're on the European plate, and on the other side, the American plate. As the plates move apart, the valley is forming in between. So Europe is on our right-hand side, and North America is on our left-hand side. This valley in between is kind of in between the plates. Here you can see how the earth is kind of ripping apart on this side of the valley. And we also see this on the other side as we travel on the other side. But we're going to have a short stop in between. There's washrooms, toilets. There's also a small gift shop.
A few minutes of break was what we had before we continued with our Golden Circle adventure.
So like I say, it is a little bit of a walk. So I would maybe suggest, if you don't feel up to the walk up the hill, then just stay on the bus and he'll take you up to the top. There is many things to see up top. The ones of us that are walking will be about 15-20 minutes walking up, and then we'll see the rest of you up on top.
Most of us decided to walk and stretch out, breathe the fresh Icelandic air, and enjoy the view along the way. So this is Thingvellir National Park, the most important cultural heritage site in Iceland. The park is home to the world's longest running parliament, first established in 930 AD. This amazing landscape was formed as a result of sitting along the border between the North American and European tectonic plates, which gradually move apart. The river running next to it was diverted to give people at the assembly easy access to fresh water. It's quite a hike to the top, but once we got there, the view provided a feeling of relief, satisfaction, and enjoyment in looking down below, never minding the cold wind blowing on our face.
And then it kind of phased out. They still held meetings here and stuff, but they didn't have the same power at the time.
Our guide waited for us at the top of the hill, where we ended our visit to the Thingvellir National Park, another historical place crossed out of my bucket list. Back in Reykjavik, we made our final stop at what's known here as the Perlan. It's a structure with a glass dome rotating restaurant built on top of the giant water tanks, which are used for heating the city. The Perlan has souvenir shops, which was crowded with mostly browsers. Other merchandise were on display at the bottom of the atrium. Walking around, I also found out that there was a viewing platform which provided a wonderful view of the city of Reykjavik. And on the ground floor is a museum.
Set up during the war years.
At the end of the day, we have completed the circle, the Golden Circle tour of Iceland, with a good feeling of accomplishment as we headed back to the port to board our ship.
So I hope everybody enjoyed their short but sweet visit of Iceland, of the Golden Circle, and hope to see you again soon. Thanks for everything.